I am heavily, heavily addicted to TikTok. I won't deny it. The catchphrase TikTok made me buy it is, I think, one of the most repeated things that gets said in my household. And I am a sucker. Like, there are so many things that I've bought just from seeing a video on TikTok. So the marketing works. I think the appeal of TikTok is that I think there's a number of things. First and foremost, the short form video craze, I suppose, which is what TikTok has created, has really taken over to the point where other social media channels are now pivoting their content styles just to be more similar or emulate what TikTok are doing. I was reading recently that TikTok in 2023 has now got more than 1 billion active users, which is like 18% of the global internet connected population, which is just phenomenal. And I think a lot of it comes down to as well the fact that obviously TikTok has figured out what algorithms and AI/machine learning processes help to serve users videos that they're going to genuinely be interested in, and find other related content that is similar enough that they might also be interested in. So it's just sort of, I think, like dopamine, like serotonin overload, because you are just constantly flooded with really interesting content that sends you on an emotional roller coaster as well, because one video might be educational and then the next might be really sad, the next one might make you angry, the next one might make you happy. And I think that actually really does feed into the level of addictiveness, because you're just constantly adapting to these changing emotions. Whereas obviously with other forms of content, it's much more sort of stable and consistent. The other reason that I think that I personally have been so incredibly roped into TikTok is because as a human, I am quite introverted. So I've always liked that sort of, without it sounding really weird and creepy, I've always like really enjoyed that sort of voyeuristic, like lurking in the background. I never really got into Instagram because I was never really comfortable putting up videos or photos of my own life, but I was always really curious about what was going on in other people's lives. So I think that sort of was played to very well by TikTok.
It's funny, some of the things that you said about TikTok are curious to me, not because I don't think they're true. I think they're absolutely accurate. But I think one thing that I've always been curious about understanding is this omniscient power that is the algorithm, as it's spoken about, is almost the way that a lot of people talk about AI. And I don't know if there is any actual like tech connection between the two. But my user experience on Instagram has been definitely shaped by the popularity of TikTok. Right? And exactly what you were saying, there are videos that will go viral on TikTok, and like 2 to 3 weeks later, they will make it to Instagram. And there's a meme that comes up in my social media feeds pretty regularly, and it like pokes fun at me, and it'll be like, oh, did you see that thing on TikTok? And it'll be like, no, I consume media like a responsible adult and I wait for it to get to Instagram. So it's really funny because I tried last winter like migrate over to TikTok, and I got frustrated almost immediately because I have so thoroughly trained the algorithm on Instagram that it gives me every single subcategory of media that I'm looking to consume. That could be videos of like animals becoming best friends and like people dancing. And it's like very like lighthearted and easy to digest, like cooking videos, whatever. And then I went to TikTok and I interacted with like one particular video. I liked it. And then suddenly I just had a feed of this one type of content. And I was like, where are all the other things that I like, that I know? And I tried to train it. So I went and I found all the creators that I like on Instagram, and I like found them on TikTok, and I started interacting with their content. But then I was like, why am I doing all this work when I've done it on Instagram? I'm okay with being 3 weeks behind. But I think it's really funny because in the grand scheme of things, that whole concept speaks to how these platforms are all so heavily influenced by one another and who they're trying to reach, and like how different audiences can be very platform specific. And then some ways in which the platforms are not specific, right? There's this whole perception that TikTok is so specifically consumed by a younger generation or a younger audience. And there are a lot of people that dismiss it because they believe that. But I don't think that's true at all. I think TikTok is a very easily digestible social media platform, and it pulls people in. It doesn't take a huge investment of time to find things that are interesting to you. And it's designed in a way to keep you engaged, right? If you try to click out of a video, you have to click out multiple times before the app actually closes. They're like these little things that are just built into it that keep people engaged. And I think at this point, with the world of social media and the way we've seen social media evolve over the last decade, I think it's really tone deaf at this point for any social media platform to be dismissed. And especially when you see that platform react and respond to the climate of social media in general, right? When people were suggesting that maybe Instagram was gone because of TikTok. Not quite, right? Like Instagram has held on to a pretty large audience and an audience that's interested in different things. And then you look at like, how is Instagram pivoting maybe to keep up with these things, right? So you have the feed with photos, you have Reels, which is an answer to TikTok, you have stories, and then now it started to incorporate threads, which is an answer to Twitter, X, right? Like conversational style interaction. And you can see that happen on other platforms and other types of social media. Facebook has Reels now. YouTube incorporated YouTube Shorts. Even on Snapchat, there's like a feed you can go into where it's just videos and it doesn't have to be your friends and they don't have to send them to you directly. And you can interact with this sort of short form video. It's very important to acknowledge that there isn't really any platform that should be entirely dismissed. It's just a matter of understanding what is the audience that you're trying to reach and can you reach them there? And if you're trying to grow your audience, understanding the value of different forms of content and where they perform well.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think every social media platform, at least until now, and there is a huge amount of convergence across different platforms and different platforms adopting and implementing different formats of content so that they can be more competitive with the others. I think that each different social media platform has a very unique purpose or very unique, I won't say audience because the audience might be relatively similar across the board, but people consume content differently and for different reasons across each of the different social media platforms. For example, news and politics, corporate updates might be, and I say that now because in a few months, if anyone is watching this, then it might not be the case then, but at least at the time of recording, perhaps X, previously Twitter, might be the best platform for that. And family and friend updates might be still best placed on Facebook, whereas fashion and beauty and various influencers might be best on Instagram. Every different tool serves its different purpose, and where users go to find specific information, I think is very relevant. Specifically when it comes to TikTok, I think up until recently, maybe it still has this reputation of, as you said, Alex, having a young audience. I think that the tides are very much turning because of just the boom in popularity and this just massive shift towards short form content and wanting to be an early adopter and knowing that TikTok is where a lot of these trends and videos start. I think that TikTok is particularly relevant for both, or can be particularly relevant for both B2C and B2B businesses, depending on how you want to utilize it. For example, on the B2C side, there are many ads, but also organic video promoting different products or tools or services and things that might be relevant for a consumer-based audience. Whereas I think the way that businesses can interact really powerfully with TikTok is more from a thought leadership and industry, like subject matter expertise perspective. I think that possibility, at least, or the opportunity for virality is the very highest on TikTok. If you want to go viral for something, you are more likely to do it via TikTok than any other platform at the moment, at least. So there's opportunity there to build a massive profile for yourself as a brand leader. But same goes even from a SaaS perspective. I think that it is an excellent place to promote value adding tips or tools, solutions. And the other thing that businesses need to take into consideration, of course, is the fact that of all of the social media platforms, TikTok is by far the most cost effective when it comes to paid ads. Again, that might change in future, but right now, the cost per user acquisition is much more competitive on TikTok than any other platform.